You're getting through them. You're way ahead of Paula and Anil. We ready?
All right, Nick, whenever you're
I don't pontificate.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Can you tell me who you play and what attracted you to be in this movie?
I play Benji Dunn, a veteran IMF employee, if not agent. He was featured in Mission Impossible 3 as helping Ethan out in the lab. And we had this idea that maybe after he'd helped Ethan navigate Shanghai and save his wife, he felt like the lab no longer had anything to offer him. And he applied to be a field agent. And when we join him in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, he's actually out in the field doing exciting agent stuff.
Which brings me on to the next question. What specifically does Benji bring to the team? What's his raison d'etre, if you like?
Benji brings a certain amount of lightheartedness. I think enthusiasm, certainly. He's a bit of a puppy. He's very excited to be working with his hero, Ethan Hunt. So, yeah. And also, not a small amount of technical skill and know-how when it comes to computers and gadgets and stuff. He's the guy.
I mean, you're really well known for being a comedian. Do you think is it good to bring a slice of comedy to a very serious action movie?
I think it's incredibly necessary to the enjoyment. You know, otherwise it becomes very dour and exhausting to watch. You know, mortal peril for 120 minutes. It's actually quite tiring. If you puncture that every now and again with lightheartedness, you get a breather and you get a chance to enjoy the jeopardy rather than just be terrified by it. And that's a very interestingly delicate balance to strike. And I think Brad Bird is a master of that. You know, he knows when to be funny and when not to be. You only have to look at a film like The Incredibles, which has moments of genuine terror and jeopardy and warmth. You know, he's very good at mixing it up.
In the film, do you get to do any scary stunts?
Not compared to Mr. Cruise, no. I don't hang off any buildings. I ran down some metal stairs, which wasn't as easy as it sounds, because I did it 15 times, and then they dropped the canister and exposed the film, so I had to do it again. But no, I think anyone who does anything that isn't hanging off the tallest building in the world just has to shut up and stop complaining.
Absolutely. And tell us about Tom. What's he like?
Tom's great. You know, it's very easy and predictable for someone to say that about a fellow cast member and go, yeah, he's great. I love Tom. He's brilliant fun. It's a real pleasure to sort of get through that thicket of nonsense that surrounds him. You know, there's a lot said about Tom, a lot written about Tom. It's almost all completely untrue, you know. And you meet the man, he's just a very dedicated, sort of fun guy, and he utterly sets the bar for the rest of the actors. He's sort of, you know, he gives it 100%, never less than 100%, and you have to match that, otherwise you're gonna disappear off the screen. So he's an inspiration.
And you mentioned briefly about Brad, but tell us, how's Brad to work for as a director?
Well, me and Brad are very similar. We have very similar interests. We're both kind of movie nerds. We both like the same stuff. You know, yes, he's won 2 Oscars. Yes, he made The Iron Giant and Ratatouille and The Incredibles, but he also ran The Simpsons for 7 years, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. So to get to work with someone with whom I feel such an affinity and such a kind of kinship was a joy.
So you're a movie nerd. Are you a Mission Impossible fan before you ever got involved?
Yeah, I mean, these films are, I think Mission Impossible has one of the most eclectic series of directors you could possibly wish for, even more so than the Alien films, I think. You know, you had Brian De Palma, and then you had John Woo, polar opposites directorially. Then you had JJ, again, a very, very different style. And now Brad, who brings an all-new sort of approach to it. So, you know, what's not to love about that? As a film fan, that's what you really want from a series of movies.
Was it fun?
No. Yes, it was enormous fun. You know, it was 7 months of my life spent, you know, globe-trotting and hanging out with the likes of, you know, Tom and Paula and Jeremy and Brad, and also our hugely interesting sort of global cast with Leia and Anil and Vladimir and, you know, Semuli as well from Finland, and Michael Nyquist, who's, you know, just such a great actor. How could it not be fun? We were just having fun every day.
Okay, horrible question coming up. And it's the last one, so don't worry.
Okay.
What's your favourite bit of the movie, and what do you think the audiences... What's the one thing the audiences will go...
Well, I know the answer to those questions are very easy. My favourite part of the movie is the break into the Kremlin, just because I love the audaciousness of that plan. You know, they have to go in to the Kremlin to take something that they need and do it with such ridiculous ballsiness. They have this huge screen which kind of makes the corridor look empty when it isn't, and they're just by the skin of their teeth, you know, infiltrating this densely protected vault, but it's a moment which is both funny and terrifying, and I really enjoyed shooting that. For the audience, I think the moment when you see the Burj Khalifa, when you see the drop, and it's particularly if you see it in IMAX, you get the same sensation you would do if you were there. Your stomach just does a huge turnover. It's a physical reaction you have to it, and if you don't like heights, then close your eyes.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
You.
I went up there 2 weeks ago and I hated it.
Yes.
I had to be helped down.
Hang off it. That's the